Shirley Aldebol, and I'm Executive Vice President of the union, 32PJ.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate your time and effort. So, in honor of Women's History Month, one of the things we wanted to do is highlight one of our prominent clients. And it's important for us to share what women's history means to us respectively. So now that we're here in March, what does women's history mean to you?
It means so many things. As a Latina woman, just understanding that our history is not really told here in the United States. My parents migrated here from Puerto Rico, and I find that our stories, both as migrants and immigrants, are not really told.
Right.
And so it's important that as women and as women leaders in our respective fields, whatever they are, that we are able to tell those stories so that those generations that come after us can understand the struggle that women faced, both to come here and have a life for themselves and their families. And so that, in that respect, is very important to me. And also just, I was raised here, I went to school here, and there's a lot of stuff that's left out of American history books.
Yes.
And women's stories are not told.
No.
Particularly women of color. Our stories are not told.
And it's so deep and rich when you think about
it is a very deep and rich
place
history
here in this country. It's just it's not prevalent in the history books.
It's not at all. And so, the fact that we have a Women's History Month, it should be, women's history should be highlighted all the time.
I'm into that.
But it just highlights the fact that our history is really missing.
It is.
From the most prominent places in our world.
Some of the prominent decisions that are made in this country from a political perspective are also the women behind the men.
Right.
When you think about it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's it just gives me pause, right, to think about. We as women have such a rich and prominent history, but most kids will never learn about it, right? So, starting with our education system and really at home, I have, two stepsons and my son, who's now 15. Yeah. And I'm always reminding him, that the history books, he comes home and I ask him, what did he learn today? And he'll tell me, I learned about, this. And I'll be like, well, did you know?
Always elaborating,
did you
right?
know that blah, blah, blah happened?
Yeah.
And he'll be like, okay, Mom, But I'm sure some of it will sink in.
Yes. We have to help the teachers.
We have to help the teachers.
They have
along.
a finite number of time to teach a whole lot of history. And sometimes they're handcuffed to what's in the book.
Exactly.
Right? So we'll have to help them enhance and expand their horizon.
So, I think, and also with labor history, women, women have been, in large part, kind of left out of labor history since a lot of the labor movement has been very male dominated. And white male dominated. To be in a to be involved in a movement that's so male dominant,
so important.
It's really important for others to hear our stories and for us to kind of like make a trail for other women to come. And the only way to do that, I think, is by organizing more sectors where there are predominantly women. And I happen to be in a sector that's predominantly male.
Yes.
Right. It's the building service sector, particularly in the residential sector, is largely male.
Yeah.
Starting to see sprinklings of women here and there, but it's still largely male. Yeah. Janitorial sector,
largely male.
Largely male also, but I would say it's maybe 40% female now.
Oh, that's good.
In the
and what
commercial.
do you think is driving that?
I think, I'm not sure what's driving that. I think that, you've always had the commercial janitorial sector has been dominated by, I would say probably first, like immigrant women.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good jobs, they're well-paying jobs.
Right.
There's a more of a balance there
Mm-hmm.
of, ratio of women to men.
To men, yeah.
Still largely male.
Okay.
But
40% is not bad, though.
No, 40% is not bad.
Thinking back to where it was
Yeah.
and where it is now, and where the union's going to move it to,
yeah,
it's a good track record in the right direction.
yes.
Yeah.
And in our security sector, it's you're seeing more women
Mm-hmm.
in this coming into the
Mhm.
security industry.
It's
Again,
important to break down the gender barriers of what people
Yeah.
think a traditional male role is versus
Right.
a female role, and it really starts about gender identity and really expanding what that means in terms of what a woman can do versus
Right.
what a man can do.
Yes.
And that I would imagine that's very difficult trying to convince people socioeconomically,
Mhm.
why can't a woman be a security guard? Why can't a woman be a police officer? Why can't a woman do anything really what she wants
Right.
to do?
And I still hear, unfortunately, I still hear in our industry a lot of like, well, that's a woman's job, that's a man's job,
Mm-hmm.
to be mundane about it, but something like buffing and waxing floors using
Mhm.
machines,
Mm-hmm.
Women generally don't
Operate heavy machinery.
don't operate heavy machinery.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll say things like, oh, that's a woman's job, that's a man's job, and it's like,
And how do you counteract that when you hear things
well, I
like that?
tell them it's not. It's
Yeah.
a job.
Yeah.
It's a heavier job than
Mhm.
than the other job, but it's a job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of
there's
sexism,
gender bias,
right?
yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
gender bias
Yeah.
in the jobs that we do,
Mm-hmm.
or that women and men do, right?
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
like, well, isn't that a job? If you learn how to use the machine, can't you do that job? And
in some cases, it's the operation of a computer that
Right.
operates heavy machinery.
Mhm.
In other cases, it takes a little bit of manual labor. But
Right.
if the person is up to it and they physically are, in tune with what the job requires, why does
Yeah.
it matter what gender it is?
It's heavier work.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll say to someone, I'm like, when you clean your house, don't you pick up the furniture? And they're like, come to think of it, it's like, don't you carry your kids around?
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
if you can
It's a
lift
lot of strength.
if you can lift your kid,
Yes,
you
it's
could
a lot of-
probably
it's a
you
lot
could
of
probably
strength.
push this machine.
Yeah.
And they look at me like, you just need to ask for training.
Mm-hmm.
Ask to be trained on the machine.
And an open mind.
Yeah.
Have an open mind and not.
Because,
and
I mean, even though the jobs are, in terms of, like they get paid the same, they do, but it opens up other opportunities. Like if you can use the machines and you can do
Other
things,
things,
it opens up opportunities to,
to move up
be a
in the
lead,
ranks.
right? Or to be, not that
Because
we want a lot
sometimes
of
you
people to
just
be,
need
right,
the chance.
right.
Yeah.
So it's about opening up opportunities for overtime. Men who can do that work tend to get more overtime
Oh, I didn't think about that.
than women,
Okay.
because women are just doing the night cleaning, and
Yeah.
the men, if they're doing the machines, sometimes the machines, they'll only do them on the weekends, for example.
Oh.
So it's
See, I
just,
didn't think about that.
yeah,
Shirley.
and there's like a huge, I mean, I think about this stuff all the time, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but wait a minute, these guys are doing overtime on Saturday.
Mhm.
You could get that overtime if you learn how to use the machines, right? So it's,
right.
it's
And that
stuff
in
like,
turn helps the family.
Right.
That economic inflow into the household helps the children, helps
Right.
expand. So really, it's important that everybody has the same opportunities.
right.
I think that.
And that's just thinking about the wage gap, right,
Mhm.
between men and women.
Mhm.
If men have more opportunities to
Mhm.
earn more,
Yeah.
there's always going to be an earnings
Right,
gap
right.
between men and women if women don't take these opportunities.
Right.
And if they're always seen as men's work, right?
That's true, yes.
So,
yes.
those are issues that have been important to me
Mhm. Mhm.
as I've been in this
Yeah.
industry.
Right.
Because I came out of public sector before that, which is a
Mhm.
little less
It's a little less
Well,
biased, but there is some bias there.
There is some bias there
Yeah.
because, like in, women tend to be more in like social services type jobs. Men tend to be more, in other jobs in public sector.
Right.
Public sector jobs, the men, jobs that are male dominated tend to pay more than jobs where, there's more dominated by women.
Absolutely.
So that's the case in every industry, I think, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's no different in public sector.
But I can't wait for the day where it's a job and this is how much it pays and it doesn't matter who applies.
Right.
That's it. It is what it is because our brains work the same way.
Right.
But we're not there yet.
Yep. And it starts early. I think that, women and men or boys and girls are kind of pushed in a certain direction.
I personally think it starts
young
at the
age.
dinner table.
Yeah.
I tell people so many times that the dinner table is such a powerful tool that is ignored in terms of breaking down racism, gender bias, because it's the commentary that people hear at the dinner table, especially little children, that gets reinforced all the time. And then as parents, you don't really think about sometimes what you're saying around your children or to your children that gets ingrained in their head. And then they grow up because that's their norm. And then that becomes their common belief until they step outside into the real world and see, okay, things are different, their views are challenged, and then it's up to them to do their research and figure out stuff on their own. But the dinner table is your first teacher. And if the language is not appropriate or the thought views are a little, narrow, you are shaping your children to think a certain way where, boys don't cry, girls don't do this, or whatever the case may be. So it's important to break it down at that point. So I think it starts at the dinner table.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think about, things that I've heard at dinner tables, my own and others. And I'm thinking, back then, that's what was said. And why don't boys cry more? And why can't a guy play with a doll? Or why can't I play with a truck? Or things like that. It was, it's just those little nuances that just shape your mind. Yeah.
That's true. I used to steal my brother's Tonka trucks all the time.
And I bet you operated them better than he did.
Well, I don't know about that, but I certainly like to crash them.
Yeah. So what is your outlook in terms of the union? Like where we are now, and where do you see the union in 5 to 10 years? Like what's your hopes and dreams?
That's really funny because my hopes and dreams is that, we will have, the top of the leadership of the union will be all female. That's my fantasy.
It's possible. I can see it.
I said that to Kyle recently. Kyle, I was like, it'll be my I'm like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'll be happy when all the top officers are women.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. I'm like, because at one time all the top officers were men.
They were
so
male.
Why can't they all be women? But realistically,
I think that's very realistic.
Realistically, 5 years from now, that may not happen 5 years from now, but certainly I could see that happening. 10 years from now, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Where at least there's more of a gender balance in the leadership of the union. And I think it's going to take, a lot more organizing in sectors where there are more women. We have a lot of, we're looking at, different areas where we can organize and, finding that there are more women now in those workforces. I think things have changed a little bit since COVID, so
it becomes a little bit more challenging.
Become a little more challenging to organize workers, but also just workers looking for other opportunities, for work, women included, which
or the availability of women to come back or stay in the workforce,
and stay in the workforce. That's been, I think, that's a huge challenge, especially
the coming back or the staying.
I think both a little bit, right? I think that there are a lot of women now who are looking for more opportunities to work from home.
Yes. Yeah.
Because no matter what, women have been and continue to be kind of the primary caretakers of their families. And so, finding opportunities where they can have that flexibility, I think, presents a challenge for our industry, right, where we organize, because the workers work.
It's a physical place you have to be.
It's a physical place they have to be, and it's not like they can work remotely, right? So I think women, I just think that there's likely to be a trend of women more gravitating more to those jobs where they can have that flexibility.
Balance,
Although, it's like in low wage workers are going to go where the work is.
Right.
And hopefully, land someplace where they can have a good job with benefits, which is what the union fights for. And I think it's going to be interesting in the next 10 years what our industries are going to look like.
Yeah, I think we have to work harder to create a space where we have to be flexible, be more open-minded, and think about, okay, how do we make this work for everybody and not revert to where we were? Because if that's the case, then I think you'll see a gender gap in terms of being present in the marketplace in certain industries, because it's just not conducive for women to be present in those industries if they want that hybrid life. And like you said, being the caretakers and the main caretakers, it's going to be a very difficult decision. And frankly speaking, families first. So, in order to provide for your family, yes, you have to work, but you're not going to sacrifice your family for your work. So it's a very difficult place that women are in right now, and trying to understand what's the best balance or what's the right decision to make for themselves individually.
Yeah, but if companies want to attract talented women,
they got to do the part.
They're going to have to figure it out.
They're going to have to do the part and
they're going to have to
make themselves attractive. Yeah. So if you had to,
same with the labor movement.
That's right. It's no different. Right?
We're going to have to think about how we attract more women. I mean, a lot of our staff comes from our rank and file, so they move up the ranks.
What do you do to encourage women to move up in the ranks? As women, some of us struggle in terms of how to maneuver the work life, maybe office life, or just in terms of, promotional and asking and being assertive and ask for what you want, what you need. How do you counsel women?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard in, I tell women, ask for what you need, ask for what you want. But the reality is that if you're if you're within certain constraints, there's only so much you can do or ask for. But I think that, for women, to move up, in their organization, I feel like it's required a lot. For me, it's required a lot of sacrifice. I did sacrifice a lot of time with my son. I always try to find that balance. It's always been a struggle. I think that most women who have, challenging careers struggle with that. And I have to admit that's always been a struggle for me. I don't believe that you can have it all. It's just really hard.
It's work-life integration. I don't think it's a balance.
It's not a balance.
Somebody said to me a long time ago, like, some days your family's going to take precedence in your life, and other times work is going to take precedence in your life.
Exactly.
And so long as it's not a complete imbalance where you're just veering one way, you do the best you can for your kids, and you have conversations with them and let them know, like, this, it's not you, it's really this is the situation. So they can grow up understanding that you're not trying to harm them. But it's really an investment.
And the good thing is, again, communication with your family and communication with your kids is extremely important. And I do tell people all the time, always involve your kids in what you're doing. Or in like I tell my son, like since he was little, mommy may have to pull people out on strike, so I won't be home for a couple of days. And he'll be like, what's a strike? And then, he did a video where he was banging on these pots and yelling 32 BJ. He was about 3 years old. So
training them young, Shirley. I see that. Training them young.
He's into the sciences, so he's not. He's into. He's definitely like a science kid.
Mm-hmm.
Math and science is his strength, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I made him understand that
he knows what mommy does.
You know what I do.
Yeah.
This is why it's important.
And you're helping people.
Yeah. It's like it's important that we help people and that we're involved. And I always want him to be involved in the community and do things for the community. So he has a deeper understanding of what I do. I just don't go to an office every day and work.
Right.
So.
And do you find now that he's older, he understood back then what you were doing and
I think
the
he
importance
totally
of that?
gets it now. I mean, when he was little, he was like, "Okay, mom," whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's it gradually sinks in. He's a teenager now, and it's I think he gets it. But again, the communication with your family is important.
Right.
And
with work too, right?
Work,
you have
so
to tell work.
Right. Sometimes you got to tell work. Listen,
I gotta go.
I have parent-teacher conference.
Yeah. That is the key, right? It's communication to make sure what you need, so that you can be the best worker and be the best, mom to your kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of talking to your younger self many moons ago, all the missteps I'm sure I've had in our careers, what's the best piece of advice you'd give your younger self that, women that are coming up now don't make?
Oh my goodness. Do I have to pick one?
You can pick as many. I know I have a long list because I've had plenty of missteps, but we worked out okay.
That's true.
But as a young woman starting her career, everything seems big, right? And if you had to talk to your younger self who was probably freaking out at all the big stuff, what would you tell her?
Yeah, I would probably say that to learn from your mistakes, right? Because I think we learn just as much from our mistakes, or if not more from our mistakes than we do from our successes, right? So, it's okay to fail, but if the key is to learn from it.
Right.
It's like, what did you learn from that?
Right, and owning up to them.
Right, and understand that, okay, I failed. Let me just really look at why this didn't work, right? Or why did I fail at this, or why was this a big mistake, right?
Right.
It's like, because if you don't acknowledge that it was a mistake and you just keep moving, and you don't learn from it, then you're going to keep making
the same ones or bigger ones
yeah. Or you're just never gonna you're never gonna really succeed. I think so it's really owning up to your mistakes, learning from them,
right
and then
moving on. It's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Nobody dies.
Life isn't gonna end. Hopefully nobody dies.
Nobody dies. Yeah. Everything seems so big when you're younger.
Yes,
that
it does.
When you look back, you're thinking.
Some things seem big even now. Sometimes, like, I'll make a mistake and I'll be like,
no,
how
for sure.
How can I be so stupid? Or, but then
we're distracted now as you get older.
Like
there's more things on your plate, more things in your head, more things on your shoulders.
Right.
Things are bound to slip.
And then just take a breath. Sometimes just take a breath.
Yeah. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Yeah.
My mom used to say that to me. I'm like, you don't understand. This is a big deal. And she's like, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And if I could remember that all the time, my stress levels would be much different.
Exactly. But women have a lot of stress.
We do carry a
lot of stress because it's either you messed up with your family, or you messed up at work, or you messed up somewhere. It's like, and then you're like,
A lot of people count on women.
Yeah.
A lot of people count on women. Yeah. We are the nucleus.
That's true.
We are the nucleus.
We make everything run. Yeah. So, it's just, sometimes I have to remind myself to just take a step back.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
We can fix this.
Absolutely.
I can fix this. I just got to figure out how.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Let's figure out where we went wrong, and but It's taken years.
Ask for help.
Ask for
help. Sometimes
That's
we take
very
a
important.
lot of things on, like we can do it, or you don't want to seem like you need all this help.
Right.
But everybody needs help. It's just a different type of help.
And don't pretend you know everything.
How can we?
We can't pretend we know
we?
everything.
Yeah.
We can't possibly. I don't know anything. I tell these guys all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you can't,
You're stronger
it's
together.
like when you're younger.
Right?
Yeah.
You're
like
stronger together.
When you're younger and you're starting out, it's like you're a know-it-all. It's like, oh yeah, I know that.
Oh yeah. I remember looking at my mom trying to tell me things, and I was like, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
I know.
Hindsight being 20/20, she knew everything that she was talking about.
I know.
I was
know
the one
nothing.
thinking.
And mom knows everything.
Yeah.
It's
Well, you're just trying to make your place in the world sometimes.
it's really just like, if you know everything, then you have nothing to learn, right? It's like everybody has something to learn.
Right. Right.
You're constantly learning until the end of your days, right?
You are.
And so once you understand that, then it's just easier to say, I don't know.
It is true. And it's okay to say you don't know, right?
You know about that. Can you help me with that?
I tell people all the time, it's okay to say no, and the follow-up to that is, and I will find out for you.
Right.
Right? Because even you're not the smartest person in the room, somebody else will be
Right.
smarter, and then you'll get the answer, and everybody learns together.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So pride has its place, but sometimes it can be a
People will
detriment.
ask me a question, and I'll be like, maybe you can answer it, or maybe she can answer that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I'm not afraid to do that anymore, because I'm like,
Yeah.
But just as you get older, I guess you
That's
gain more
experience,
confidence.
yes.
and
That's experience talking right
Whereas
there. The 23-year-old Shirley probably didn't think that way.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Not a no.
She's like, I'm going to figure this out
I'm
even if
gonna
it's
know
going
the
to kill
answer.
me.
I'm going to know the answer. I'm going to I have to know the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't always have the answer. And it was a problem for me, because I would really stress about
Really?
I didn't know. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
My 23-year-old self, I would have probably said, you don't know the answer, just admit it.
Right.
You don't know how to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Admit it.
Yeah.
You need help.
Yeah.
And I didn't always do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would stress myself out because I would try to,
to work through it.
Through it on my own.
Sometimes you make it worse when you do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And I think that's that was a huge revelation for me to say, I really don't know how to solve this problem. Can you help me?
Right. Asking for help is a trained art.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something well, it's funny, as kids we're always asking for help. Okay, Mom, can you do this? Mom, can you do that? And something happens in those teenage years that doesn't switch
teenage
back.
to maybe 30.
Yeah, where you just don't ask for help at all and you try to figure it out. And then as you get older, I think it's just like, well, who can help me? I need a lot of help. Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you get even older, you go back to that, I don't need any help kind of thing, because you don't want people to feel like
that
you're not able.
It just comes full cycle, full circle.
That's not going to be me.
No. Shirley has her hands up all the time. Everybody help me.
Help me. Yeah, that's going to be me. I'm going to be like, help me, please.
Yes.
I need help.
Yes. So the moral of the story is ask for help. Don't be ashamed, and it'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
And take a breath.
Take a breath.
Take a step back.
Take a breath. So hopefully everybody got that. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I learned a couple of nuggets today, and I learned so much more about you, and it was really a pleasure to sit down with you and learn a little bit more about you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.